So our next speaker, I'd like to introduce Steve Jara. Steve is here at Ames Research Center with the System Safety and Mission Assurance Division. And Steve is going to talk to us this afternoon about safety and mission assurance, SNMA, for low-cost missions. Steve?
Hello, I came to bring everyone's favorite topic, safety. All right. So system safety is a process that we use to roll onto each project. We added quality management processes to minimize the risk and associated each systems throughout the phase of the life cycle. So we do this by creating independent experts to come in and help with the project, the overview, and see what's needed to be done. We create a high visibility in our verification and validation of processes to show that you're meeting those. We come alongside and flow down requirements in supply chain management if you find that there's critical processes you want tracked, and we want to ensure the quality hardware is purchased, that you're getting the requirements met that meets your needs. We utilize a closed loop process to illustrate that you have corrective action as well as root cause, so we can know what you're doing. We don't carry it forward into the next design, into the next hardware, so we understand that as a project, you're not creating the same mistakes, and you're actually moving forward and creating a design you can live with and actually execute properly. And we de-emphasize for us, cost and schedule is not an issue, and it's not something we manage. We actually track the success of a mission in compliance with safety regulations. So a subclass B mission is a low-budget, fast-paced project executed under a set of streamlined processes aimed to mitigate only most significant risk for mission success. If these projects are fast-paced, we've worked them in here, we've worked many size projects. We understand the atmosphere is very creative and ingenuitive. There's a lot of flexibility for the design because it's acceptable risk. We do recognize it also that the staff can be limited in size, so the depth of the knowledge within a staff could be small, or the training across the staff could be thin as well. We recognize that there is a significant amount of cost hardware purchased and utilized, and a lot of low heritage hardware that has not been flown a lot of previously used, utilized as well, is within the acceptable risk of these size missions. We also we realize that you guys and us, we sometimes will utilize the quality systems and the quality inspections within a vendor. So when we receive the hardware, we don't add additional work and oversight onto those, and so we accept that risk once we understand their system and the hardware we're getting ahead of time. And we realize that there's a big focus on get it done. Get it done right, get it done quickly, meet the schedule, meet the costs, so the mindsets make it work. We understand it as well. And there's a huge focus on cost and schedule, which is a little different from a bigger mission that we're used to. So why have SMA in a Class A mission? How do we add value to you? And some of the negative reasons are you don't. You bog us down, you stifle innovation, you make us follow the rules. Sometimes we're too costly, we want too much. We expect too much oversight, too much insight. And sometimes we consider us an unnecessary risk to the project when the project is clearly able to accept a higher risk level than we would normally consider a higher level project. But those are only the negatives. The positive things which we actually do bring is we are working with us closely, bringing us in closely, or bringing the person who you utilize. You can work these requirements down, become very flexible, define a whole process of what level of quality oversight and safety oversight you can have and what is acceptable to have. It's just a matter of bringing us in early, having that discussion early, getting that team, as I like to say, eyes wide open early. We can limit the initial risk. We look at the whole risk as a product. Then we define with the project what are significant risks that we need to work on, which we need to actually track and to create mitigations for to save time and money. And we ensure the project allocations are working with the team covered those areas that need the additional oversight. And as it says at the bottom, if we just throw things in and blindly and poorly processes, we will pay for that, and that's not a good failure mode. So, for safety, how do we add value in safety? That actually, our representation or the person doing it, we actually are the great key point integrators between the range, the PSOP, or any other working group. We become your point person to interact for you. We become those people who set up the TIMs to help you to understand what needs to be done and help you clarify all the requirements that are in front of you that you must comply with from the safety side of the house in order to get your payload on the vehicle you plan to launch with. We actually help the verification to close out the hazard reports, hazard documents, and any other documentation that illustrates that you comply with the safety that gives you a green light to get through launch. And we champion a safe working environment for everyone across the board in all the aspects of hazards, as well as down to process work. All right. Along with that, why do we need mission assurance? What is our aspect there? We actually help you understand the quality systems, the AS9100, the ISO systems. We actually determine with you if you need workmanship. If there's any critical areas or things that you need a higher reliability, we help you determine if you need AAA parts. Those are not required, but we help as a team of the project understand with their eyes wide open, this is a risk. We actually help create any quality documents that need to be created to demonstrate that you comply with the processes you've laid out, to show you that we manage as well as help you handle the closure of those tracking of those issues. And we like to do it right the first time. No one likes to do open paper. So helping you guys to focus on, let's just get it done right. Let's not reiterate the same mistake and rebuild the hardware twice. We help champion that and kind of help the team understand the whole focus. All right, during hardware fabrication, this is one of the big ones for your hazard reports. When you generate a hazard report, you have a lot of mitigations. A lot of those mitigations illustrate how you will control that hazard. Some of that starts basically with quality inspections, quality hardware, quality drawings, illustrating back to your safety review panels that I've done the due diligence to ensure safety of my hardware does not impact the vehicle or personnel. We utilize, like I said earlier, the eyes wide open success so that we could understand as a team all the requirements for safety. So when we get those hazard reports, we need to close those quality things, everyone understands why that effort must be going to and why the hardware must move forward in that way and be held for those inspection points. We established a risk posture that's acceptable because it's a high risk for these size missions, but also understanding we can't compromise the safety for the risk posture. And we help keep that balance with everyone so that we can move quickly through safety reviews. We allow creative thinking. We want it to be out of the box as well, as long as everyone understands the safety requirements that must be put into each of your hardware in each of the phases of the mission. Workmanship standard, in my mind, is not something mandatory in this level of size of a project. You're not on the environment very long. The environments are not super swinging from temperature gradients. But you can decide that as a project, you might want to put that extra rigor. You might find someone who already has the J standard with the ES training already. That's free bonus. It's actually just you're going to be doing that work anyway. But it's not a mandatory requirement for the size project. Environmental testing is another area you want your safety person or representative to be part so they could actually close off hazard reports illustrating that you met the launch environments, you met the temperature environments, you met the vacuum environments, and that will close out many of your hazard reports with us in these part of these reviews, or these testing, I should say. It allows for any safety review questions to come back and we actually interface for you guys. And it actually helps you to not have to tie a limited team down to answering a bunch of safety questions and understand the clarity of the report or the documentation submitted to each review. All right, so How do we fit within a Class D mission with a small budget? We cross-train people to understand that we could delegate some of the work out to have a team member who can be responsible for that one safety verifications if needed to buy off. We ensure that the whole team understands that safety is important, that the quality processes help close out our paper at the project, so when we get to the reviews, everyone understands why they need to be signed out, why that needs to be stamped, and that person taking ownership will be keenly aware. And we use peer reviews, if you're really limited, is a way to help you manage all the requirements met. Do I have enough insight? Can we all stand up and say with the mantra, yes, we understand all the safety practices and controls are in this hardware, and it will not impact anything in any vehicle or any person. You can appoint an individual as your SMA representative or SSMA representative, and in that person I would keep the focal point for the whole team throughout the whole life cycle. So that will be that one key point, taking on the responsibility to do the interfacing with the ICs and each safety review. It'll make your life a lot easier. You could do pull an independent person, SMA person, to help you come in and be your SME, to come in and look at your hardware, look at your processes, sit on your reviews to help you, guide you, and give you that additional insight and understanding to the requirements. And you want to make understood that the whole team needs to understand that everyone understands the issues and the reasons why and the requirements, so everyone is clearly understood what is requested of them when asked. And that helps reduce your risk posture as well as moving quickly through each of the safety phases. All right, a few lessons learned from that I've experienced. Documentation is one of the biggest challenges every project has. Doesn't matter what size it is. Everyone hates doing paper, everyone hates closing paper, everyone hates generating paper. But one of the big things is when you create these documents, make sure that other people can understand them as a project. You get very centric of, I understand my design, and you start writing that everyone understands your design. But when you submit the papers to your reviews, they want to understand the whole hierarchy of your project. They want to understand what it means when it's described, what are your true safety hazards, what are your true safety controls. Also, the investing in the importance of development high fidelity concept operational descriptions. That will help you to start defining as a project what is the whole process, the whole project, the whole interaction between the subsystems. It will allow you to start thinking of a national hazard analysis as you start putting things together. It will prevent you from having to remake hardware as two things don't communicate well between the interfaces of just your own subsystems or within the ICD. It minimizes the design and unverified requirements that could be missed by just running off and building something quickly without understanding the whole design up front. And you need to do the research and understand your safety requirements so that when you all talk about it as a project, you all understand you have a battery requirement, you all understand you have propulsion requirements, and so everyone knows when you're designing early what these design requirements are levied on you and how you comply to them, and that the design starts selling And the other thing is leverage the expertise from the PSRP, the range, or whatever interface group you have. If you have questions, they can help you answer, to create the design, they can clarify the safety requirements. They actually can share with you other projects that have done similar things or other things, and I found them to be very resourceful and very helpful. It also helps you when you get into your different phase reviews. It allows them to remember they've been talking with you for months or weeks, and it helps them move quickly through and like, oh, we don't need to talk about this section, we already understand it. So utilize them. They're a great resource for all that you need to comply with, and they're a great resource for design as well. All right, as you guys are on a fast-paced projects, any questions? All right, thank you. Yeah.
Hey, listening to this, it sounds like Ames is going to be helping us with this. You're saying you're going to be helping the team get through.
In my organization, we help teams. You know, but the goal here is if you called us, that's something that, I don't know how James, how it works specifically.
So, yes, we'd like to be able to offer help to teams and answer and give advice. That said, we have to give the same advice to all the teams that we give to any team for the sake of fairness. So what we're going to do is the Centennial Challenge Program, or I, as the challenge administrator, will receive questions about safety and mission assurance, relay them within NASA, get the appropriate answers, but then we will publish Q&As so that they're available to all teams, and teams get the same kinds of information.
So the slide when you talk about having a witness at test, an SMA witness, that's not an Ames witness.
No, that would be, that, right, you guys would, my goal is to have you guys delegate, you know, Jimmy Joe here is now our representative for SSMA if you do not have SSMA in your organizations. Does that make sense?
Yes, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to help you guys recognize if you have a failure, that's the guy to go to versus the entire team. The entire team can be dragged in. You want someone to be your focal. Yes, sir.
Oh, but just as a follow-up, could Ames, for example, provide, if a team requested it, a mission assurance manager as a service as part of their development to help them meet these requirements?
Sorry, Jim.
We have to have a level playing field for all teams, and if a team wanted to hire a mission assurance person, Ames would have to charge for that service and also make that same service available to all teams under similar terms and conditions. Yes, it's possible, and we'd have to negotiate that. It would be at a fee, and we would have to be offered to all teams.
Yeah, I guess, just to clarify that, I think that when you say that's the offer of all things, so it's like if you were to hire JPL or if you were to hire Ames to do some specific thing, that doesn't come with the money. You wouldn't share the results of that work with everybody. You would simply have to, if somebody else wanted to hire you to do the same work, you'd have to be able to say yes to them too. Right. So each organization has to do the same offer to everyone, not necessarily share the results, although you're saying you pull some of them.
Yeah, if you negotiate with Ames to have a mission assurance person work for you and it costs you $10,000, then that point of the contract has to be available to any team. The information shared is what you paid for, that's not shared.
And I'd like to differentiate two different kinds of information that would be disseminated to teams. There will be general questions, clarifications, what's going to happen if blah, blah, or what's the implication of this, or can you tell me more about the SMS trajectory? Those kinds of questions we're going to capture as a frequently asked questions, because they're applicable to all teams and they're equally informative. The answers are equally informative to all teams. So there would be published a catch-all accumulation of frequently asked questions which are of general interest. And those will be published on the challenge website so that everyone has the same general information. If we were talking about this hypothetical scenario where a team wants help with safety and mission assurance, those kinds of questions and answers or that dialogue is bound to be very specific to a particular mission design. And that would be something that would be, proprietary to that team and would be handled, internally to that team. As a service to that team, of course, we offer the same service to other teams, same with JPL, for example. So there's two kinds of information, those that are general and will be published in the frequently asked questions, as opposed to particular services and specific services or products that could be hired from the government, either NASA or at some other government.
Yes.
Just a quick question. I understand mission assurance for the because you want to have your mission succeed, and you don't want, you know, and also I understand not affecting the launch vehicle. I just wondered what picture you have for a safety issue for a, you know, since we're inside a 50, right, a box, a standard box can handle 40 Gs, and, you know, what kind of scenario do you imagine that this is a safety when I think of that as a human life impact?
So I think one of the things that's gone on, I don't think, there's been a lot of discussion with SLS, secondary buildings organization group. The IDRD that's being prepared, which all secondary builder people would have the requirements they need to meet, that's been closely worked through and with our safety mission assurance folks. So the scope of that IDRD should capture that if you build a device that meets those requirements, it should be safe to fly. Okay? That's why you see a lot of these limitations, like you can't use this, you can't use that, you can't, you know, that kind of thing. And that's why we go through ground tournaments. So the ground tournaments are coming in. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Steve, but what he's presented here is NASA's experience, NASA's understanding of Class D payloads. It's not, it's for you to have to go, okay, maybe I should think about that when I talk to John or Sarah, our designated SMA right now. Okay, so these are just some guidelines, these are some lessons learned to take with you back to your team. As you prepare to come to the ground tournaments, there's going to be questions that are going to be asked. Try not to be surprised, because they're going to be, some of the questions might be similar in line to here, but none of them will be outside of the scope of the IDR.
And just to follow up, did you mention that if you get another launch provider, you still have to follow the IDRD?
No, that IDRD is specific to the SLS launch vehicle. Your third-party launch provider will provide you their own IDRD.
Didn't they say
ensure
that?
you don't compromise their vehicle.
I thought they said that differently earlier.
So,
So you can't get out of it. Yeah, thank you.